Who is the supplier behind Salomon, Timberland, New Balance, Adidas, and Nike? La 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 la. Have you ever wondered who manufactures all the cosmetics for Lancôme, Dior, Chanel, and L'Oreal? It's 2024, and you still don't know who the suppliers behind all of this are. Thanks to Trump's trade war against China, Chinese manufacturers are now trying to sell luxury goods like handbags directly to Americans through TikTok. American and European luxury brands are being exposed, tariffs are reaching record highs, and TikTok is no longer just a dance app. It's now China's new economic weapon. This is a new chapter in the trade war between the US and China. It turns out that your luxury bags, supposedly made in Italy, may have more connections to Chinese factories than to Tuscany. And it gets even more surprising. China is now issuing free visas for Americans and encouraging its factories to sell products directly through TikTok. All of this is happening against the backdrop of Donald Trump raising tariffs on Chinese goods to a staggering 245%. Not only is China inviting Americans to visit, it is also promising to refund taxes on every purchase made by tourists. Videos have gone viral on TikTok showing Chinese factories making and selling products that look like luxury brands such as Birkenstock and Hermes, but at a fraction of the price. These clips expose the truth. Many luxury brands are manufactured in China and then simply sold at inflated prices. They sell you leggings for $100, and you know what? At these two factories, you can buy them for just $5 or $6. Louis Vuitton and Chanel will hate me if I tell you this. I'm revealing a secret that big brands are hiding, and this is just the beginning. Now even iconic American products are a risk, like the iPhone, since they're also assembled in China. Some companies claim that these are counterfeits, but millions of Americans are thrilled. It's cheap and delivered quickly. The main question arises, is this a legitimate business or just another clever strategy by the Chinese government? It seems that China is taking revenge for tariffs this way and helping its factories reach American consumers directly. And after all, major American corporations like Nike, Apple, and others are tied to China for billions of dollars. If the factories keep going like this, these companies could lose everything. Their stocks, valued at trillions of dollars, could collapse. So what is this? A smart move or propaganda? But before we continue, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the most important updates. Now let's break it down. It's possible that Donald Trump himself didn't realize how he triggered the downfall of American companies. By raising tariffs, he angered Chinese workers and TikTokers, who responded not with protests or threats, but with videos. Videos that revealed the truth about the world's most famous luxury brands, and what they showed shocked millions. Do you recognize the style, this bag? Of course you do. For more than 30 years, we have been the official factory for most luxury brands around the world. They didn't just complain, they named names and gave facts, revealing that brands like Gucci and Valentino aren't always honest. Their Italian or French products are actually made in China, either entirely or almost entirely. The video showed all stages of production, how Chinese workers sew bags, shoes, and clothing. Sometimes the goods are indeed shipped to Europe, but only to be slightly finished and to have a Made in Italy label attached. More than 80% of luxury handbags in the world are produced in China. Almost finished bags are sent to the brand's own factories, where they simply change the packaging and add the logo. This shattered the myth of handcrafted work in small European workshops. People felt deceived and became angry. A factory director from Guangdong showed how bags labeled "Made in France" are packaged, even though the entire production was actually Chinese. Another blogger filmed how sandals costing $430 are made and explained that the production cost of such an item is $1.40. These videos spread across the internet. Within days, international media started talking about them, and a scandal erupted in the United States. But this was not just an attempt to cast Western brands in a bad light. It was a calculated response from Chinese factories that found themselves under pressure. Because of the strict tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, it became more difficult to sell goods in the US. Many factories were losing clients, and the economy was slowing down, so they went on the offensive through social media. While American retailers were canceling orders en masse, factories in China were left with billions of dollars worth of goods and nowhere to send them. The volume of orders dropped by about 60% in recent days. And on TikTok, videos are appearing where factory owners explain that their American partners backed out of contracts at the last minute, and now the products can't be shipped abroad. Previously, we produced goods for more than 20 brands. However, about 50% of them are brands from the American market, and that means this year we will lose almost half of all orders from the US. Perhaps that's why these factories took a different approach, going directly to the consumer, bypassing brands and middlemen, straight to TikTok. These products are offered at huge discounts to get rid of warehouse stock. We will always be the best factory for luxury brands, so why not just contact us and buy directly from us? Yes, this doesn't cover all the losses, but it puts pressure on American companies. The Chinese are showing we can reach the customer without you. Either you come back to the negotiating table, or you lose the market. Perhaps we are witnessing the birth of a new global supply system. Or maybe this is just an attempt to survive by factories that are struggling. Let's watch and see. To soften the blow from tariffs, China decided to take a different, softer approach. Back in 2004, the government launched a visa-free regime for US citizens. Now, tourists from America can visit the country without a visa for up to 10 days. And now this program has started to be actively promoted. At the same time, in cities like Shanghai and Beijing, tourists have begun to receive partial refunds on their spending and discounts on purchases. It's a clever contrast. While America is closing its doors to China, Beijing is rolling out the red carpet for Americans. But it's not just about attracting tourists. China is using tourism and shopping as a way to improve its image and strengthen its influence. If American shoppers enjoy their time in China, they might stop seeing it as an enemy. This is what soft power is, exerting influence through culture, hospitality, and business rather than threats and pressure. And it gets even more interesting. Even though the trade war broke out between the US and China, the TikTok campaign mainly targeted European brands. Why? Because by targeting Gucci, Valentino, and others, Chinese factories were also putting pressure on Europe. After all, it is often China that manufactures goods for these luxury brands, even though they don't claim that everything is made in Europe. By revealing the truth, the factories wanted not only to put the brands in an awkward position, but also to force them to speak out. The goal is for these companies to put pressure on their governments, which in turn would pressure the US. After all, if China becomes too expensive or risky a place for manufacturing, the brands might move to Vietnam or Bangladesh. Chinese factories are trying to prevent this from happening. They are fighting for their survival, and they're doing it through TikTok, publicly and loudly. But it's not just European brands that have found themselves in a difficult situation. Major American companies like Nike and Apple have also fallen into the same trap. They are heavily dependent on Chinese manufacturing. Apple, for example, assembles more than 90% of all its iPhones in China. Yes, the company is trying to move some of its production to India and Vietnam, but it's impossible to replace China quickly. The factories there are huge, fast, and extremely efficient. Apple still needs them. In March 2025, Apple CEO Tim Cook personally visited China and called it a key partner. That says a lot. Even amid political tensions, Apple can't just leave China. Nike is in a similar situation. About a third of the company's entire production is done in China, and it's there that many of the premium shoe models are made. Moreover, Nike was previously accused of ties to factories in Xinjiang, where forced labor is allegedly used. And in 2025, Chinese TikTok users started posting videos about layoffs and wage cuts at these factories. This led to a boycott from both Americans and Chinese. Nike is losing support from both sides. But the problems aren't just about tariffs or manufacturing. The very innovative strength of the United States is now under threat. For many years, American companies have complained that China steals their ideas, technologies, and developments. This is called intellectual property theft, according to the 2024 report by the U.S. Trade Representative. This costs American businesses billions of dollars every year. In the past, such thefts happened secretly. Someone would copy a design, sell counterfeits, or leak ideas. But now in 2025, Chinese factories are doing this openly. They lose orders from Americans and start selling similar products themselves. Moreover, they use the same machines and molds that were used when working with American brands. These copies are sold on Chinese websites like Taobao and Pinduoduo, and American companies can do little about it. Chinese courts often turn a blind eye to this or respond too slowly. This is a real threat, not just a loss of profit, but also a loss of control over their own products. And this is very serious. For many years, globalization was built on trust. Western companies believed they could transfer production to China without risking their reputation and intellectual property. Now, that trust is collapsing. People are starting to question just how honest brands are and whether their ideas are truly protected. Previously, China stayed in the shadows, helping to build the image of Western brands while remaining behind the scenes. But now, the Chinese workers, suppliers, bloggers are stepping into the spotlight. They are openly revealing how the system works, and they are no longer willing to stay silent. This campaign on TikTok is no accident. It is a clear signal. If China suffers from American tariffs, Western brands and their consumers will suffer as well. And now the main question is, what will happen if people stop believing in the brands they once adored? What will happen if the very workers who make your clothes, shoes, bags, and even phones start telling the whole truth openly, loudly, and to millions of viewers? The answer to everything that is happening could change not only what we buy, but also how global trade is structured as a whole. Many analysts are convinced that the wave of exposed videos on TikTok is no coincidence. China already has a reputation as a country skilled at steering desired narratives through this platform, whether through direct influence by the Communist Party or more subtle mechanisms within the system itself. TikTok has repeatedly reflected China's strategic interests abroad, and the sudden influx of videos showing factory transparency, close-ups of sandals resembling Birkenstocks, or bags in the style of Hermes could very well be a quiet, yet powerful form of economic counter-propaganda from Beijing. The idea that all Chinese goods are cheap, low quality, and made in semi-legal workshops with terrible working conditions is long outdated. The reality is much more complex. Many Chinese factories, especially those working with Western brands, meet high standards. Some luxury brands even own their own production facilities in China, where trained specialists work, expensive materials are used, and strict quality control is maintained. The phrase, "made in China," still carries a negative connotation. It is associated with labor rights violations, dirty production, and exploitation. This is exactly where the TikTok campaign hits a sore spot. Western consumers, tired of inflated prices for fashion and technology, suddenly realized that not only had they been deceived, but they had also become unwitting participants in this entire system. Although, let's be honest, unfair working conditions are not just a problem in China. Vietnam, Bangladesh, Cambodia all have similar stories. This is a global problem. However, despite the viral effect, these videos started to disappear. Over the past week, dozens of videos featuring counterfeit luxury goods and footage from factories suddenly vanished from TikTok. Creators are complaining about shadow bans, copyright strikes, and content removal. Some blame bots for this, while others talk about legal pressure. So now it's not just about bags or sneakers. This is a real war of narratives. On one side are small manufacturers with their phones and the truth in their hands. And on the other are billion-dollar brands with armies of lawyers and influence over the platforms. And in the middle is TikTok itself, squeezed between its Chinese roots, a Western audience, and mounting political pressure. It's no surprise that Trump has started talking about banning TikTok again. If this app has now become a weapon in China's economic war, shaming American brands, bypassing American stores, and directly winning over the hearts of consumers, it's no longer just about data. Now it's about economic power, national pride, and about who gets to tell the story in the digital global world. In this new trade war, the battlefield is our newsfeed, and the next viral video could destroy a billion-dollar brand overnight. So the main question now isn't who makes your sneakers, but who tells their story and how much you believe them. What do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next interesting news.